Novichok inquiry holds President Putin morally responsible for the death of Dawn Sturgess. Ms Sturgess was poisoned by the chemical weapon in Salisbury in 2018. Today, an independent report concluded she was an innocent victim and thousands more could have been killed.
Those who authorised the mission, up to and including, as I found, President Putin, that conduct was astonishingly reckless.
The PM said the findings were a grave reminder of the Kremlin's disregard for innocent lives. Also this lunchtime. Hospitals under pressure as the number of patients being treated for flu doubles on this time last year. Plus,
it goes for four! Retiring personal Everest is conquered.
Rooting for England, batsman Joe Root scores a century at the Ashes and...
I heard you elected a king.
Prince Harry takes a royal swipe at Donald Trump on a US chat show. Good afternoon. Russia's President Putin is morally responsible for the death of Dawn Sturgess, who died from Novichok poisoning in Salisbury in 2018. The mother of three was exposed to the highly toxic nerve agent on a discarded perfume bottle. Her death followed the attempted assassination of former Russian spy Sergei Skripal. The independent inquiry concluded that the Russian operatives who carried out that attack did so in a public demonstration of Russian power that must have been authorised at the highest level by President Putin. Well, Russia's always denied any involvement in the poisonings, but the Prime Minister says today's findings are a grave reminder of the Kremlin's disregard for innocent lives. With the latest, here's Sam Holder.
This was Dawn Sturgess the day before she was killed by a Russian nerve agent on the streets of Britain. Now the inquiry in her name has cleared the British authorities of any failures leading to her death, blaming President Putin. Dawn was never the target. She'd used this perfume bottle, found by her partner in Amesbury, but had no idea it contained the chemical Novichok. 4 months before she died, the bottle had been used by Russian agents in an assassination attempt in nearby Salisbury. Former double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia were poisoned, but both survived. It was an attack ordered by the Kremlin.
Those who authorised the mission, up to and including, as I found, President Putin, that conduct was astonishingly reckless. There is a direct causal link between the actions of all those individuals and Dawn Sturgess's death. And they, and only they, bear moral responsibility for it.
The Prime Minister said today's findings are a grave reminder of the Kremlin's disregard for innocent lives. Dawn's needless death was a tragedy and will forever be a reminder of Russia's reckless aggression. In response, the Security Minister has announced sanctions for Russian intelligence officers.
We are also summoning the Russian ambassador to hold Russia to account for its responsibility for the tragic death of a British citizen.
The inquiry found that although there had been some failings in Skripal's management, there was no evidence back in 2018 to say he needed a new identity, the only thing that could have prevented the original attack. And that despite police failing to find the container after the assassination attempt, the decision not to issue a public health alert was justified. The chair found that Dawn Sturgess had no chance of being saved. She would have now been a grandmother, instead killed, collateral damage, by a chemical weapon left with disregard for the risks by Russian agents. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Our global security editor Rohit Kachar is here. Rohit, the Foreign Secretary, has summoned the Russian ambassador following this report. Where does this leave relations between us? and Russia?
Well, I think one thing to consider when we look through the details of this report is that although this inquiry bears the name of one person, Dawn Sturgess, this is actually about so many people. It's about the hundreds of people who could have been killed after the use of this nerve agent in Salisbury, an agent which, by the way, was developed specifically by Russia to try to avoid detection by NATO equipment. This is also about Vladimir Putin himself, the Russian leader who, it is said, is morally responsible for what happened here. And he must have ordered what happened here, this inquiry concluded. With that in mind, the Russian ambassador is being summoned this lunchtime to the Foreign Office to try to answer for himself. But we can see this as part of the broader campaign of hostility by Russia inside the UK. And we can also consider this. This all happened before this phase of the invasion of Ukraine. And so Vladimir Putin was ordering attacks like this before the UK and other NATO allies before their relations with Russia worsened even more.
All right, Rohit, thank you very much. Next is lunchtime. Winter can be a challenging time for hospitals, but there's a warning. Wards are under increasing pressure as a number of people being admitted for flu has more than doubled compared to this time last year. According to NHS England, an average of 1,717 flu patients were in beds in England each day last week, including 69 in critical care. That is 56% up on equivalent numbers from 2024, when the total was 1,098, with 39 in critical care. Well, let's go to Ellie Pitt now, who is outside the Department of Health for us this lunchtime. Ellie, this is a very significant rise, isn't it?
Yes, Lucrezia, and the issue and the reason behind it is because this year the strain or the mutation of the flu virus we're seeing is significantly different, and so there isn't the immunity in the population like there is for other strains of the virus, and so flu is spreading much more easily and much more quickly. More people are catching it and getting ill. Already we've been sent footage from inside hospitals that was filmed this week of people being treated in corridors. The pressure that the NHS services are feeling as a result of this flu season hitting earlier and harder is already being felt. And since we broadcast that footage last night, we've been sent hundreds of messages from viewers who've said that they're experiencing similar situations in hospitals near them right across the country. More than 10,000 calls have been made to NHS 111 compared to this time last year. Adding to the pressure looming on the horizon is the fact that doctors are planning to strike for 5 days from the 17th of December and what they're calling a jobs crisis and real-term pay cut.
All right, Ellie, at the Department of Health there. Thank you very much. Some other news now, and elections for newly created mayors in 4 more areas of England will be delayed until 2028, the government has announced. New mayors were expected to be elected in Greater Essex, Norfolk and Suffolk, Hampshire and Solent, and Sussex and Brighton next year. Critics across multiple parties have accused Labour of cancelling democracy. The Education Secretary is promising a full review of child safeguarding following the case of a paedophile nursery worker in North London. Vincent Chan pleaded guilty yesterday to 26 charges of sexual assault against children in his care. And energy bills will rise to help fund £28 billion of upgrades to Britain's power networks, adding £108 to household charges by 2031. Energy regulator Ofgem approved the funding, saying the investment is essential for energy security. The Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is facing calls to apologise after allegations of anti-Semitism from his school days continue to be raised. This morning, his colleague Richard Tice rubbished the claims. Today it was revealed Reform UK has received the biggest single donation for any British political party. The businessman Christopher Harborne has donated £9 million. Our political reporter Jasmine Cameron-Chilishi is in Westminster for us. And Jasmine, Mr Farage denies these allegations, but they aren't going away, are they?
That's right, and on one hand the party's going to be feeling pretty chuffed this morning that they managed to secure that £9 million donation. The party officials will see it as a real endorsement, but at the same time, as you say, Mr Farage is coming under a lot of pressure over allegations that he racially tormented his peers while at school. Now, one of his former classmates, Peter Otegi, who is Jewish, has accused Mr Farage of making anti-Semitic remarks, an experience which he said had a profound impact on him. Now, all of this follows an investigation in The Guardian, which included testimonies of others who claimed that they were subject to offensive language and behaviour. Now, last week, when asked about these allegations, Mr Farage said, quote, he never directly racially abused anybody. And this morning, Deputy Leader Richard Tice accused Mr Otegi of lying.
This is made up nonsense by someone who has got a politically biased motive. And let me tell you, no one has stood up against anti-Semitism more than Nigel and I.
Now, the Attorney General, Richard Hermer, has called on Mr Farage to apologise, a sentiment shared by the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch.
What Nigel Farage should do is just apologise. This was something that happened a long time ago. He should show that he is not the same person that he was when he was a teenager. But if he can't do that, then I think that's really sad, and people can make up their own minds about it.
Mr Farage's critics and supporters will undoubtedly be paying close attention to his press conference this afternoon, where we expect that this will come up and he'll be asked to account for his former alleged comments.
All right, Jasmine in Westminster, thank you. Next week, Australia will become the first country in the world to ban under 16-year-olds from using social media. Today, Meta, who own Instagram and Facebook, have started switching off children's accounts ahead of the ban. But if some kids can find ways around the ban, how much of a difference will it actually make? Here's Martha Fairley.
She was a beautiful 15-year-old Australian girl who'd been destroyed by social media.
Well, send back. Thank you.
Tilly Rose Warren was 15 when she took her own life. She was given a mobile phone for her 12th birthday, but she was bullied online, and her mother has been campaigning to stop under-16s being allowed to open social media accounts.
Gave her the phone at 12 and said, happy birthday, here's your phone. And of course I have to live now with the reality and the guilt of that, which is that I gave her the phone that ultimately resulted in an engagement in the digital space which she couldn't disconnect from, and became the harm that ultimately destroyed her. And as the algorithms got hold, that's all she saw. I'm not advocating getting rid of phones. I'm not advocating getting rid of a smartphone. It's about protecting children.
Like, I woke up the next morning and I had gained like 150 followers.
14-year-old Zoe Bender began posting Get Ready With Me videos on TikTok a year ago. She used social media to learn makeup techniques she now shares with followers around the world. Hers is one of thousands of accounts owned by under-16s that will have to shut down under the new law that comes into effect in Australia on the 10th of December. She's launched a petition to lower the age limit to 13.
One, don't underestimate us. We are very smart. We're very smart online. We're very smart in public. We're not dumb. Two, we know the harms. We've grown up with social media. We know how to be safe on it. We know what the right thing to do on it is. I think that a blanket ban is not a good idea. I want to try and work with the government to be like, if you really want to ban social media, maybe lower it and keep the people that are already on social media on it, and don't let anyone else on it until they are 13.
Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, sent messages to its young users telling them they'd be removed from social media platforms from the 4th of December. And at this school, where pupils leave their phones in lockers during the day, Opinion is divided over how or whether the change in law will affect them.
I use like social media as a downtime when I'm like trying to relax and stuff. So I've got to find new ways to relax.
Most people I see doom scroll all the time, from around 9 p.m. all the way to 2 a.m.
I'm not too sure about how effective the law will be. The government is promising, that it's going to be quite effective, but we'll just have to wait and see.
And with other countries contemplating a similar ban, what happens in Australia will be watched closely by the rest of the world.
Makeup's all done, hair's all done, and I'm all ready.
Martha Fairley, ITV News.
Well, here, an online pornography company has been fined £1 million by the regulator Ofcom for not having strong enough age checks. AVS Group, which runs 18 adult sites, will also have to pay an extra £1,000 for every day it does not improve its age verification. Next, how the earth moved for some people in the northwest of England last night. Well, this doorbell cam captured the moment. A 3.3 magnitude quake hit just after 11:20 p.m, shaking homes and waking up people and their dogs. The tremor was felt right across Lancashire and parts of the Lake District. Our North of England reporter, Jonathan Brown, is in Silverdale near the epicentre. And Jonathan, it was certainly felt there.
Absolutely. It might not have looked that dramatic, but that's certainly not stopped it being the talk of this village. That's because I am in sleepy Silverdale on the West Lancashire coast, which, as you say, was at the epicentre of last night's earthquake. It struck at around 11:23 in the evening, and it measured 3.3 in magnitude. Now, it's thought that it happened and struck about 3 kilometres beneath where I'm standing under the surface. And to put that into context, an earthquake that's a 6 or above is considered a strong one that may cause some damage. So there was no damage caused here, but it certainly did cause a bit of a stir.
I was walking up the road just from down here, coming back from the pub, and heard this loud bang and felt a massive rumble between my feet.
About 25 past 11, I was in the bedroom, just finished my paper, put my head down, and there was a huge bang. It went on for about 2 seconds, a really heavy bang.
No, it didn't feel like that bad of an earthquake. My cat was scared, but that was about it.
Well, those people certainly weren't alone. It's reported that the earthquake was felt as far away as 12 miles away in parts of the Lake District and Lancashire. But it's not actually as rare as you might think. The British Geological Survey says it detects between 200 and 300 earthquakes in the UK every year, although only about 10% of those are actually strong enough to be felt. The most recent one of them was in Scotland at the end of October. So experts say what happened here is not actually anything to worry about.
All right, Jonathan, at the epicentre of that quake in Silverdale. Thank you. Now, on Joe Root's illustrious cricketing CV, there had been one key omission. The England batter had never before managed a century against Australia down under. But on the first day of the second test in Brisbane, Root finally broke his duck, scoring 135 not out to cement his legendary status, even with the Aussies. Chris Scudder was watching the action.
He'd waited his whole career for this, a test century at last in Australia for Joe Root, and where would England have been without it? The answer, in a whole lot of trouble again. Root came to the crease after a catastrophic start, with Ben Duckett and Ollie Pope both out for naught. Root and Zach Crawley started the recovery with a century stand before Crawley fell for an excellent 76. But there was more trouble brewing when captain Ben Stokes got himself into an almighty tangle.
She's gone. The England captain's run himself out.
It was all down to Root to save the day. Could he make that elusive century down under? Nerves were jangling among the Barmy army. But then, finally, it happened.
It goes for 4. Root's own personal Everest.
The moment he must have feared might never arrive. 3 figures on Australian soil at the 30th time of asking. After that, it was time to cut loose. England's last man, Jofra Archer, thrashed a couple of sixes.
6 more.
And Root was like a man reborn, with a trademark reverse hit for 6 that almost brought the house down on a landmark day.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, we were so pleased for him and his parents as well.
He's the #1 batsman in the world, but everyone criticised him for not getting a century in Australia. And now he has. Go on, Rootsy, bring it on for England.
Only one man in Test history has scored more runs than Joe Root, and now even the Aussies will have to admit he's an all-time great. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And finally, this lunchtime, Prince Harry has seemingly reignited his feud with Donald Trump on live telly. The Duke of Sussex made a surprise appearance on The Late Show with host Stephen Colbert, as well as poking fun at himself. Harry made a few gags aimed at the president. Here's Faye Barker.
They're just going to bump into some prince at their job or walking down the street.
Last night in the US, a surprise appearance from Prince Harry on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. After a rapturous welcome, Harry proceeded to take part in a sketch about him wanting to audition for the part of a prince in a Christmas movie.
I genuinely thought this was the audition for the Gingerbread Prince Saves Christmas in Nebraska.
But this show is political satire, which Harry didn't shy away from.
Clearly obsessed with royalty.
With this reference to Donald Trump.
I wouldn't say we're obsessed with royalty.
Really? I heard you elected a king.
That was linked to huge recent No Kings protests across cities in the US. Crowds unhappy with some of the president's policies.
I'll do anything. I'll do anything.
The sketch also had this about recent legal disputes between Trump and the media.
Settle a baseless lawsuit with the White House. All the things you people on TV do.
Harry, I didn't do any of those things.
Maybe that's why you're cancelled.
If you was treated like a king for the day, what would you want me to do for you?
Harry's understood to have wanted to take up an invitation to be on the show before it is, as he said, cancelled next year.
I'm back!
While President Trump is unlikely to find all this funny, Harry's place in America's showbiz world is likely to last long beyond Christmas.
You've got the role.
Faye Barker, ITV News.
An update on our top story. The family of Dawn Sturgess have just responded to the inquiry that held President Putin morally responsible for her death in Salisbury in 2018, saying the report does not say how something like this could have been prevented in the future. For more on that story with Mary, who's here with the evening news at 6:30. But from everyone on Lunchtime, bye-bye. Enjoy your afternoon.